As the pine box was lowered into the grave, Mrs. Flowers slowly woke from her long sleep. You see, the concoction the conjure woman had given her had caused her breathing to become so shallow and her heart rate so slow that they were virtually impossible to detect. It also caused her body temperature to fall so low that her skin was cool to the touch. She didn't know where she was until she heard dirt being shoveled on top of her coffin. She banged frantically on the coffin lid and screamed, "Let me out! Let me out! I'm not dead! Do you hear me? I'm not dead!" But her screams were drowned out by the thud, thud, thud of the dirt landing on the coffin lid. In no time at all, she was buried alive. Now, all these events had gone just as the conjure woman had planned. For you see, she had always been jealous of Mr. and Mrs. Flowers with their plentiful crops and their healthy livestock. All she had were just a few skinny chickens. So soon after the funeral was over, she would sneak up to the Flowers farm each night and steal as many chickens, horses, and cows as she could. By week's end, she had taken nearly all the livestock from the Flowers farm. To celebrate a job well done, she plopped down into a chair, cackled loudly, and took a big swig of her homemade cherry wine. She soon drank herself into a sound sleep. Later that night, the hag was suddenly awakened by the loud crowing of a rooster. She peered out the window through bloodshot eyes and noticed that there was not a trace of light in the sky. Why was the rooster crowing so early, she thought. She rolled over with a grunt and put a pillow over her head. But still, the crowing continued, growing louder and louder. Now totally awake, she jumped out of bed and ran into the yard. "Shut up!" she screamed, chasing the terrified chickens around the yard. But though the loud crowing filled the air, she could not find the rooster. The same thing happened night after night. The moment she would fall asleep, a loud crowing long before dawn would jolt the old hag awake. She would run through the yard screaming, "Where are you, you cursed rooster? When I find you, I'm going to chop your head off." But the crows from the mysterious rooster would only grow louder and louder. One night, after nearly 2 weeks without sleep, the crazed hag took an axe and chopped the heads off of every chicken she could find. But the unseen rooster continued to crow. As weeks went by without sleep, the hag slowly went insane. She was convinced that the rooster was mocking her, its crows turning into cackling laughter. The hag grabbed her axe and ran screaming into the night, hacking away at anything she could see. As she ran aimlessly through the swamp, the air was filled with a cacophony of unbearable noises, as if the trees and the swamp critters were joining in the mocking symphony. The hag never returned home again. Months later, some fishermen found her decomposed remains, still dressed in a tattered nightgown, her skeletal hand clutching her axe. Over the years, folks who were brave enough to venture into the swamp at night claimed they saw the old hag's sleep-deprived ghost running through the trees, swinging her axe wildly into the air. The children in town named her Old Sleepyhead, and she became a local legend. But closer to our time, they drained the swamp and built a new freeway through the area, which brought the haunting to a sudden stop. I've often wondered, was that old rooster really the vengeful ghost of Mrs. Flowers? I guess we'll never know. But if there's one thing this story taught me, it's the importance of a good night's sleep. Sleep tight.
That concludes this tale from the Moonlit Road. Be sure to visit our website at themoonlitroad.com to find out more about our stories and let us know how we're doing. The Moonlit Road is produced and directed by Craig Dominy, recorded and soundscaped by Henry Howard in beautiful Stone Mountain, Georgia. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.